I'm Pearl Whitfield, and I am going to be doing a series of readings from my new book, The Storekeeper, A Tale of Small Town Life, which is available on Amazon. Starting with Chapter 1, I'll be doing it in little pieces of Chapter 1. Ralph hadn't quite decided what to do with Rusty. Campbell was a small and welcoming town, but national food handling standards still applied. He didn't actually handle food. He'd toss the pickles and move the barrel to the workshop. The butcher counter case and back was empty, and he didn't yet know what he was going to do with it. The butcher blocks were still there and a huge long roll of paper. So far, all the store's meat and cheese was prepackaged and sold in the glass-doored refrigerators on the far wall opposite the cashier counter. He was hoping he might have some sort of deli, maybe make sandwiches, but it wouldn't be this year. Rusty was upstairs in the apartment. Ralph went up to get him. They walked down the narrow back stairs and Ralph opened the back door. Rusty went out into the fenced yard and did his business. But he wasn't interested in going back upstairs. During the previous week, when Ralph had been cleaning the store, Rusty had kept him company, and he clearly wanted to continue that practice. Ralph hesitated, then opened the door to the store. Rusty wagged his way in and checked out the boys' chairs and Mrs. Adams' trail. Then he went to the front door and sat down expectantly. Ralph knew there was a leash law in Campbell, but he knew his dog. Rusty wouldn't leave the porch without permission. Ralph opened the door. Then he remembered the little girl. "Rusty, stay," Ralph said sternly. Rusty stopped halfway through and looked up at Ralph questioningly. "What, boss? I can't go out after all?" Ralph looked past the dog's upright ears and saw the little girl. Her gaze was locked on the dog, and her body was stiff. Otherwise, she didn't seem to have moved since he first saw her. She had threaded one arm through the railing, but the fingers were now white against the peeling wood. "This is Rusty," Ralph told the girl. "He won't hurt you." Rusty was a mostly shepherd mongrel, a good 90 pounds, nearly twice the girl's weight. She just stared, not taking her eyes off the dog. She shrank into the corner of the steps. "Sit, Rusty." Rusty sat. Ralph said to the girl, "I'm Ralph Johnson, the new owner of L&B's Market. What's your name?" The little girl said nothing. Ralph stepped back into the store and called Rusty in, then closed the door. The little girl kept her eye on the door. Rusty's ears drooped in disappointment. He sat at the door and looked back at the girl through the window. Ralph looked at the two of them. He sighed. Now what, he wondered to himself. There was a small kitchen behind the meat counter next to the storeroom. Ralph got Rusty a biscuit and enticed him back upstairs. Rusty didn't whine out loud, but his look did, as Ralph said, "Stay," and closed the door. The little girl was gone when Ralph returned. That afternoon, the store was busy by jerks. When the pool closed, there was a rush of wet children pouring over the candy, chips, and popsicles. One time, Ralph saw what had to be the football team run past, training in the August heat. An hour or so later, they swaggered in, hair all slicked and jeans fashionably ripped. Most of them drank their quart of juice or Gatorade on the porch immediately. Ralph had decided to close at 7 p.m. There was no business after 6, as it turned out, so he swept and straightened that last hour. Maybe he wouldn't stay open till 7. But what else would he do? He and Rusty wandered around town, smelling barbecued steak here and there. People were sitting on porches, mowing lawns, watering gardens. Many waved and said hi as Ralph passed. Towards dusk, Ralph climbed the stairs to the apartment. He was more tired than he realized and fell asleep in his recliner shortly after supper. Rusty woke him for a last visit outside before bed. The moon was nearly full, and the town dark and quiet. To be continued.